Wild turkey cacciatore is a take on one of my favorites, chicken cacciatore. Cacciatore just means hunter in Italian. You can see the ingredients, the peppers and onions and tomatoes. Together, they make a beautiful combination. The heartiness from mushrooms, the sweetness from peppers and onions, and the acidity from these tomatoes balance it out nicely. It's nice because I've got an entire wild turkey here all bone in, and that's something classic for the cacciatore. Because it's going to be cooked over some time, you get really great flavor from the bones. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to start with a little bit of all-purpose flour. So I've got a bowl, you could put it in a bag, and these ingredients are going to go into the flour. So I've got thighs, I've got legs, and the reason I'm dusting them with flour to start is that starch is going to end up thickening the stew, but initially it'll also brown. So it's a level of development. I'm going to season these, preheat a pan, and get them started. With the pan on medium-high heat, I want to make sure that I don't crowd the pan, but I also want to make certain that there's enough heat that it will actually give nice color and begin to saute. You can see the oil is already starting to bubble. You'll see the smoke developing as well. Once there's a nice coating in the bottom of the pan, the turkey can start to go in. You'll see that I've knocked off any excess flour, which is really important. I don't want a gummy texture. I just want to get that flavor development. Now when they go in the pan, automatically the heat starts rolling, the smoke starts coming, and what we want to do is just get everything in there to develop really great color. Now, while the turkey sautés, it's a good opportunity to get some of the other prep done. The thing about these ingredients is you want them roughly the same size and also the same shape, so they have the same cooking time. The easy way to get the peppers ready is just to slice the sides off, like so. And then what I want is I want to remove this little bit of white ribbing. It's a little bit bitter and it just doesn't have a lot of good sweetness. Then a nice fine slice. This slice is called a julienne. This is nice, it's bite-sized. When it's sauteed, it'll be tender and easy. It's not too big to eat. And we can do the same cuts with the onion. Starting off by removing the tip and the root, then lying it flat, slice right in half. Remove 2 or 3 layers, whatever is fresh. We're gonna take nice, thin slices. This will give you a julienne of yellow onion. With the first batch of turkey nicely browned, it's really important to saute in batches. When you get it browned, remove it from the pan and then start with a new batch. The reason you want to do this is to give lots of room for the turkey to brown. If you put too much turkey in at once, what happens is the meat begins to boil. You'll get no flavor development, and the worst part is all of your hard work, you won't get that in the end flavor. That really unique taste of the beautiful turkey, it just won't be there if you don't saute in batches. With the onions and peppers prepped, it's time to get into the mushrooms and tomatoes. Now, one of the things that you'll see is I've got the mushrooms and tomatoes separated from the peppers and the onions. The peppers and the onions will take a little bit of time to develop the sweetness, so they'll be the first to go in the pan. Then I'm going to follow up with the mushrooms and tomatoes. The mushrooms are really simple to prep, just literally trimming the stem, making sure to brush off any soil. So you have this tendency to want to wash the mushrooms. Don't. Just brush them off. Much of the flavor's on the outside of the mushroom, so it's really important not to wash them. Then all I want to do is quarter the mushrooms because I want something bite-sized. Next, the tomatoes. It's going to be a really simple preparation by first of all removing the core, then slicing them in quarters, and removing the seeds. Now you don't have to remove the seeds, but it's something that I always do. There's a lot of acidity there, and what you're left with is that beautiful red meaty flesh that has incredible flavor, but when it's sauteed, it'll also have really good texture. Starting with the mushrooms because they're almost completely water. anything that's on the bottom, all that flavor that's been developed, that really good turkey flavor, it's gonna come up as they get rid of the water. The other reason why I want to put the mushrooms in by themselves is I won't get the texture. If I just put raw mushrooms into this, they'll be rubbery and they won't really develop that beautiful mushroom flavor. Sauteed, let's face it, there's nothing better than sauteed mushrooms. One of the tendencies when you saute is to continually stir, but it's really important to not touch whatever's in the pan while sauteing. Now you can see in this pan how much flavor has been developed and how incredible the mushrooms look. What I'm going to do is just literally take them out. I'll put them with the turkey. And if I was to just add the onions and peppers in at this time, there's so much liquid in the onions and peppers that rather than just getting rid of the liquid, I would lose all the texture from these mushrooms. So with the mushrooms set aside, have a look how beautiful this is. I'm gonna put these in. Anything that was left in the bottom of the pan in terms of flavor, well, it'll all be brought up by the liquid that's gonna come out of these. With a little bit of salt and pepper, I'm going to saute these until they're visibly tender, till the onions are translucent, and until there's some really beautiful brown flavor development. When the peppers and the onions have browned nicely and are really fragrant, it's time to put the tomato paste in. Now, tomato paste is a raw product, and it's important to cook it. You can use just a tablespoon or two, but what happens here is a level of flavor development, and it also rounds out that acidity. So put it in the bottom, saute it until it's nicely browned, then mix all of this together. With maximum flavor developed now in the pan, it's time to bring all of those flavors together. I've got some vegetable stock. You could use chicken stock as well. But what this is going to do, the deglazing is literally going to bring everything up off the bottom, any of that flavor development. And what I'll do is I'll concentrate these flavors until this is almost dry again. But this is going to make sure there's none of those nice little crispy bits on the bottom that don't come up and get into the sauce. Now that the stock is fully reduced and the flavors have really come together, it smells incredible. It's time to put in a few of the last ingredients that bring brightness and freshness. So the tomatoes and the mushrooms are going back in, but then it's time for the fresh herbs. So I'm going to strip in some beautiful fresh rosemary and some fresh oregano. 3 bay leaves are gonna go in, and turkey's gonna go back in. And then with everything nestled together, I'm gonna make sure to put the lid back on so that when it goes onto the stove, the first technique we're going to be using is braising. And what braising does is really effectively break down any of the tissue left that's very, very poor in texture when it comes to the turkey. Then after about 30 minutes, we'll uncover it and reduce the sauce to the perfect consistency. That means that we've removed enough water from the stock that it's thick and voluptuous, and it's going to be beautiful to coat a little bit of rice that this can be served with, or that fresh turkey.